Hey, good afternoon. This is Clay with Sharp Car Company, and this video is made for, the cheapest repair. If your turbo is junk, it's junk already. So I got on eBay and got this kit. It's about 35 bucks. Should be pretty cheap fix, and if it's junk, hey, we're into spending $600 or $700. What you're looking for, what you don't want, is a lot of slop this way, in and out of there. More than likely it would be destroyed if you have a ton. Mine had a little bit, and I've already tore this one down. Did not rebuild it because I wanted to make this video, and I also wanted to show you the process. If this video is helpful, you can like, share, comment, or you can send me a small donation of $1 or $2 to justfixedme@gmail.com. It's PayPal. Anyways, but you definitely don't have to do that. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take off this band clamp right here. And I'm going to have to set the phone down, unless I can get Jeff to come over here and hold the phone a little bit. Jeff, you want to hold the phone for a minute? So we pop that clamp off of there. Now there's a locator pin. You're going to mark the area where your coolant line goes in. And how you're going to do that is you're going to want to take a chisel and you're going to mark it on this housing on that side, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, and this housing on this side.
Yep. Oil drain marks turbine housing. Oil inlet, you mark the compressor housing.
Excellent. So now this isn't just going to fall apart. There's a locator pin in there. You're just going to give it a couple taps. You're not going to be too ridiculous about it, and then it'll drop off. Now, when you first do that, I'll let you know it's going to take a little bit more than what I just did. But inside there is going to be a snap ring, and you're going to remove that. This one on mine actually came apart fairly simply the first time. The snap ring didn't come out. I had to take a little chisel and pop one side of it loose, and I'm suspecting that it's the same problem this time because it sits up in that groove so well. But it's coming. So we're just going to move that up. You're not going to be able to remove that yet, or you can if you want to pry it off there, but we want to reuse that. So this is going to come out. If this does not come out, do not try tapping on the end of the turbine. That's not a good idea. Just give it some nice gentle swaps. We got this sweet hammer from our kids' toolbox years and years ago, and I always kept it around because it's light and gentle. You're going to give that a couple wiggles. You're going to look down inside here, and you're really looking for where these fins may have touched on there. If that's a nice smooth surface, you're okay so far. You've got other things to look for. Jeff is much better at this than I am. He's rebuilt these things quite a few times. What you're going to do is you're going to put this in the vise, just this part, not this part. Put this in the vise and hold it, because this isn't a nut. It is actually a straight thing. So once you do that, you'll be able to take this nut off of here, and then you'll be able to pull that off of there. You want to keep this area as clean as possible. Now, we're going to pull this snap ring out of here. And the only gasket that is not going to be included in the kit that we have pull that snap ring out of there. The only gasket is the gasket that goes out here. Now this is actually okay because we can just put some light Permatex on here. It's not a big deal. The problem with this turbo was that it was leaking oil, and we're about to show you how it leaked oil and why it leaked oil and everything else. Pull that out of there. Had this off before, but it'll come off again.
You need a pair of pliers.
Yeah. Pause it. Do not.
Okay, you're recording again.
Alright. So we have a new one of these, so we're not really all that concerned with getting jaw marks all over this thing. And then we'll show you the bushings that are bad. They're inside there if we ever get it off. Alright, you can pause it. We'll get it off. So now we got that off. You can see how all the oil was seeping past there and burning up inside that. Next part to come out is this bushing.
And that's part of your thrust bearing.
Okay. So that one's not all wallered out. It's this one that's wallered out.
Yep. The actual thrust bearing itself.
One would think one could do that, but one cannot.
So you can use just about anything to pick it out of there.
Now down inside here is your rubber O-ring. So I'm gonna go grab a pick tool. Because we're gonna replace that too.
Oh, you did take the exhaust gasket.
So then the thrust bearing falls right out of there. That collar gets changed, correct?
Which one?
That one right down in there.
Nope, that's a retaining ring.
Okay.
You can pull it out, but they are not easy to get out, and they're even harder to get back in.
Like we said, this video is so you could do this on your bench. You can try it out, see if it works. I don't see any reason why this won't work. We're going to pull this off of this shaft. We're going to clean this up. We're going to replace this seal right here. And that's actually where it was leaking from. When that goes in there, that seals up. But then it had worn out. These bushings had worn out in the center of there, and we're allowing this to wobble, and this thing runs at 500,000 RPMs. So it'd wobble, so then it would just leak oil past that seal. That's generally what happens with these. We will come back to you and show you how to put it back together. So we're going to take the control ring off after we took off part of the thrust bearing there. And then we're going to go put this in our drill press. Just because it's simpler, you don't have to have a drill press for this, but makes it easier. We'll be right back. So we've got this set up in our drill press. It don't have to be ultra tight. You're not drilling anything. And Jeff is going to put some cross hatching in it. It's the best way to do it, just to clean it up real quick and easier. That shaft has to be 100% straight. We don't want any bending or anything, so he's just going to apply light pressure to it. If you bend it, you're buying a new turbo. That's all there is to it. I'm going to take some Scotch-Brite after we took a little bit of sandpaper to it. Now Jeff stuck a screwdriver in the Scotch-Brite so he can apply a decent amount of pressure down to that, so we can clean that.
You got to clean that little channel out.
Yep, and there's the little groove that the control ring goes in. You can obviously see that that thing looks pretty clean. The control ring groove isn't cleaned yet, but we'll be right back when it is. So Jeff's going to remove the end cap there, just like that. And then he's going to clean that part up.
See how dirty all that is.
Get the stupid snap ring off of there. How are you going to clean that thing there, Jeff?
Normally you would use a sandblaster.
Normally we'd use a sandblaster, but apparently we don't have one of them at this super shop. So if we're at home, we're just going to take a screwdriver and we're going to gnarl the inside of that out. Like I said, this isn't super technical $750 turbo rebuild. This is, hey, let's do it at our house, and if it's messed up, it doesn't really matter because it was messed up before we started. So it's not the best way to do it, but hey, you know, we're going to work with what we got and do things on the cheap. And I will buy a new turbo if I have to. I'm just trying not to. So I'll let gunk out of there, probably use some carb cleaner and clean that up a little bit better. Pause the video. You don't need to watch all this garbage. There's a little shelf inside there that oil ring sits in that's pretty important to clean out. So we need to clean that out, make sure that we don't have any debris in there, so the oil control ring will sit back in there properly. And
if that little shelf is not there, the bearing housing is bad. It cannot be reused. Cool. This one seems to be in good condition.
So we installed the oil control ring inside here. We're installing this to just check the gap on it. Okay. And if you look at that gap, you can barely see it, and that's the way it should be. That way you don't have oil leaking past there. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't look like that, you got a problem. We're going to have to remove it, and then we're going to put the shaft and everything together. Okay, so what we got is we got some Lucas. We're trying to do this at home way, so you can do this on your bench in your garage. But what you should be using is engine assembly lube. But the Lucas will work plenty fine. Right now, Jeff is going to put in that O-ring. I probably would have waited till I had the turbo thing in there.
The thrust bearing?
The technical words. Yeah, because then I could have put it in there past it. But anyways, it needs to slide around it. So he's going to dip everything in the assembly lube, and that's going to make a really big mess, and that's why he's doing it, and I'm not, because he works for me. Technically he works for himself, but he's a good old guy. He likes helping out, and he's enjoying making this video and stuff with us.
Using Lucas, also, it's thick enough. It gives the motor oil time to get up into
Look
the bearing
at him,
housing.
what he does with that Lucas. That's sweet. That's his work shirt. What are you putting in now, Jeff?
Okay, this is the bottom portion of the thrust bearing.
Okay,
the thrust
excellent.
collar.
Okay.
This is the thrust bearing.
Okay. Jeff's lubing up the bearings. He's putting a lot of lube on there. Must have had problems in the past.
Number one destroyer of brand new turbos. Not enough lubrication. Okay. Same way with this one. Very delicate ring. They're made of tungsten carbide, so they're very delicate. It goes right into that channel. Up through the middle of the oil control. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth until it snaps in there. Bam. Then that whole assembly goes down in there. Make sure that that lines up with that whole slot there.
Do not take a hammer and hit on that. Jeff, take the hammer and hit on that.
Oh, I see what the problem is. Notice that came out.
Jeff says that's not supposed to come out like that.
Nope. Well, it happens. They can be still stubborn at times.
Oh, what such there is. We'll pause for this station identification. Okay, Jeff had a little bit of trouble getting that in there, but he just worked it until it went in there. You do not want to force it because it's made of tungsten and you'll bend it. And then it fell out again when he put it together. So we're going to have to get that right, but you just got to be patient. You'll get it right. It won't be a problem. So it kept falling out, so what we decided to do was put it up in there this way, opposed to letting gravity pull it down, so it pulls that piece out. Now Jeff's trying to pop it in there, and you got to make sure it's square, because it is very, 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 very small tolerances in there. We're putting a little bit of extra lube on the O-ring because the O-ring is prohibiting us from pushing it up in there. Don't worry, this is how you know things are done the right way, when things won't fit together easily because they have very small tolerances. Bam! So now we got it in there.
O-ring in here, but clean that thing off first.
Clean it up a little bit.
Now there is an up and down to these.
Yep, we're going to install a snap ring.
The beveled edge faces out. So if it doesn't, it can come out. That's seated. Okay, that ring's seated.
More lube.
Can never have enough lube on these.
Yeah, because at startup, there is going to be a short period of time that you're not going to have oil to this thing. It's going to be a very small time. So this assembly lube is really, really, really important. I mean, even if you have to spend the $8 or $10 for a bottle of Lucas, you're probably better off doing that because you can use it in your engine later on. That's what I did. I used this in another car I was working on. When I do oil changes, I use Lucas, so we just cut this off. So you put the heat shield on there.
You just kind of spin it, push it, spin it, pop. It'll pop in place.
Excellent.
Don't force it. Never, never, never force anything on a turbo. Compressor wheel on.
Now that is counterclockwise thread.
Yes, reverse thread.
So Jeff, are most turbos just about all the same? I mean, they should be all the same, correct?
The basic design is the same throughout most turbos, large or small. The smaller ones tend to be a little more difficult to rebuild. The larger ones are actually very easy.
And this one's off of a Volvo XC90 six-cylinder, so it's a twin turbocharged model. This was the turbo that we were having a problem with the one that was leaking oil past.
Okay.
So now it should spin smoothly.
Nice and smooth.
It should not rock back and forth.
Should have no thrust, no movement back and forth. And
now we're going to put some silicone on this edge right here, right, Jeff?
Yep.
And then we're going to enter that into the housing.
Yep. we'll put the compressor housing on first, because these fins are very delicate and you want to protect them as much as possible.
He was pointing to the nice shiny ones that he cleaned. Now there's some right here. I already got a tube out of this sweet Felpro that's mostly air inside the bottle.
Ooh, that's RTE black.
Like I said, you know, when you send your turbo out, they've probably got a clean room that they clean all of this stuff in, and they'll treat your turbo like it's a little baby. We're trying to do this on the cheap. I've said that several times, but we want you to be able to do this in your garage if you can. So that's why we're doing things the way we normally won't do them this way, but we're doing this for YouTubers and so you guys can be informed. Be right back after he gets that siliconed. All right, we're ready to put this in the compressor housing. We've already cleaned the compressor housing, so you're going to be able to O-ring, snap ring, Jeff, snap ring.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jeff seems to think he can get the snap ring on there. She should be able to. It's just I was trying it earlier and it twanged me in the finger. And it actually hurt.
I bet it did.
I don't like getting hurt. Getting hurt's not fun for me. I'm kind of a wuss like that. Watch Jeff as he fights with the snap ring. I'm going to keep recording this because I told him to not do it this way. That's okay. He's his own man.
And I've also got 5 years of building these things.
Yeah, and I've had like 5 minutes. Oh, look at this badass do it. All right, make sure it's clocked right, Jeff, before you sink that snap ring in there.
I already know it is.
Oh, Jeff's already knows it's clocked right. So before you put it together, make sure you have this clocked properly, because once the snap ring's in there, you can't spin that. So that's pretty important, but that's why you marked your areas before you put it together. I'm going to pause this while he gets that snap ring in there. Okay, this is actually a lot longer video than this should take you to do this. But we were going through it step by step. Jeff assures me he could have done this in 10 minutes if I didn't have to make this video. So now he's going to snap that together. It's going to take a little bit. You're going to end up tapping on the housing just a little bit to get it to go back in its locator pin. But it's all done. Then you put your strap on, and I said put your strap on. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, like, share, or comment. If you want to send me a donation, I'm happy with that too. Me and Jeff love that stuff. Thank you very much and have a good day.